Good evening, Annie.
Good evening.
We want to talk about anti-intellectualism. I remember the first time I met you, Annie, you were so talkative and you had all of these deep topics you wanted to talk about. One of the things you talked about was that a person could make more money fixing air conditioners here than pursuing a scholarly career like philosophy or teaching. That seemed to be a very passionate topic to you.
Yes, because in China, it's not about how much money you have, how you make money also matters. I feel like here in the States, as long as you have money, it's okay. People don't really care what you do, whether you're a blue collar or you're a white collar.
I think there's a big difference in the status symbols. And the status symbols here are your car. Everybody will see what car you drive. And then it could also be your house, right? So people have these status symbols that are money sinks for them. They need to spend money on these status symbols, and that's how they show their success here.
Yes, but in China, say you want to date someone, if it's a girl, she would want this guy to have three highs. The two highs probably you can imagine. Number one is the height, tall, and number two is high income. But number three is high education. You should have a higher education than me. So that matters. For us, the professors are very respected. But after coming here, I realized professors don't make more money than plumber. That's very shocking.
Absolutely. The sophisticated careers are impractical versus money making that just brings more money to pay the bills.
Yes, people in China, doesn't matter how much money they make, their parents all want their kids to work in an office setting.
Yeah, get out of the sun. Don't, make yourself sweaty.
No, not
And
like
what?
that, but just you go to a nice office. You're wearing your high heels, you wear your business suit, be an office lady.
So that's form of status in China is the type of job you have.
Yes.
Okay. And then, of course, the teachers are highly esteemed as well. What other types of careers are highly esteemed? Because here, doctors make a lot of money, but I was surprised that in China they don't necessarily make a lot of money as a doctor.
Yes, the medical doctors and lawyers, now the traditionally the most respected careers, they're considered professionals. So they're like the engineers, they're all the same. In China, because the country is very big, the central government, the provincial government, if your parents work in the government, that's considered very prestigious. Especially in the government, you have certain ranking. The higher level your parents hold, the more prestigious this family will be considered. For example, there'll be bureau level, there'll be minister level, there'll be the prime minister level, the different levels.
When I think of government employees here, I think of people can work on behalf of the government in office job, not necessarily as a politician, and then they get their retirement after 20 years of work. But over there, it's prestigious to work for the government even as an employee.
Yes, it doesn't matter what position you hold. Once you hold that position, you hold some power, one way or the other. Here, college graduates like to work for big companies like Google, Apple, Nvidia. The same thing in China. The government is the biggest corporation, China Inc.
Yeah, another difference in social status.
If you work for a state enterprise holding VP or president, that type of position, that's very desirable too. Of course, later people who work in foreign enterprises, we call the compradors. These people, they often represent the foreign companies making American or British or French salary, which normally are much higher than the salaries in China. Poets, PhDs, professors, authors, painters, musicians, these people are all respected very much. They hold social status, and believe or not, TV presenters and journalists are also very respected. I told you about the Dragon Boat Festival the other day. It's to celebrate a poet. He was very patriotic, had many good ideas, but his king didn't trust him. He had to leave the royal court and eventually commit suicide when his country was taken by foreign power.
I think that the anti-intellectualism pervades further than just the social status. What about the social media? I was so shocked at how you watch these Chinese social media clips, and they're very educating. And you go on Facebook, and you don't see that kind of edification in what's popping up in front of our eyes in America.
Yeah, they would expect you to pay to get this knowledge. They don't want to teach you how to make money unless you pay for it.
That's very true. That a lot of times when you see any advertisement or you see any video about how to make money, it's I want to be your mentor and I want to charge you money to learn my secrets.
In college, I studied mass communications. I find that people try to describe media like a PBS as something very boring, but it's very, very educational and useful. But of course, not about money education. I think in that sense, the Chinese social media, the media in general, have more knowledge about how to make money. They like to teach you. In America, professional wrestling, anything to do with muscles to show that you are macho, you're powerful, are respected.
Football.
Yeah, like football. So you drink beer, you watch these games, you have good time, but are you powerful? How does it change you? Just watch and have fun. And then that's it. That's the end of story. Very different from us. We admire people with brain. So nerds actually are very popular in China. They are very admired. People want to work for those big nerds, those tech billionaires.
What about the entertainment there? Do you think that the entertainment in China is more classy or sophisticated?
If you compare to the Hollywood blockbusters, all those movies, they have formula. Their goal is to make a lot of money. That's anti-intellectual on purpose. If you watch some art movies in China or in Europe, you'll see they are not geared toward big audience. They're for people who are deep, like to think. Here, people spend a lot of money on marketing.
Yes.
People are tired when they go home, just want something quick and fun before they go to bed.
Don't want to think too hard.
Yeah, so that type of mental laziness makes this anti-intellectualism have a lot of space. In other words, is that they want you to be dumb so that they can rule you. The capitalists love to see you are fed by something superficial, then don't think too much.
And easy for them to make money.
Yeah.
It's all about maximizing profits, the capitalism. There's not necessarily a lot of focus on what's good for us as much as what makes the most money.
If you don't dig, if you don't have your own small circle, the mainstream stuff is very shallow, but there are many smart Americans, very smart in their own field, but they're kind of like a sporadic. They're here and there. So you have to spend a lot of time to find these people and to learn from them.
Can you give me an example?
For example, we are talking about the I Ching, right? You would be amazed how many Western scholars, especially in America, just here in Texas, they're so knowledgeable about the I Ching, one of the most ancient Chinese texts. They're also doing research. They're not scholar in institution, like a professor.
Just a personal interest.
Yeah, anthropology department. They're just personal interest. Somebody just in Texas can do so much research on Mayan culture, and you'll be amazed how knowledgeable that person can be. The public don't know them or don't see them.
Doesn't broadcast them.
Because they don't own the media. So it's difficult for them to reach out to you. the national discourse is dominated by those who are rich and powerful. Yeah. So I think the whole system is that it's easier for you to get some simple information. But if you want some very serious intellectual stuff to get inspired, you can either go to school or you have to do a lot of research on your own. In that sense, maybe there are more people in China that are proud of being in an intellectual circle, and their voices are much more powerful. And for example, the writers in China, they are governmental officials. They get paid by taxpayer monies to hold certain positions. One of my friends, she's a photographer. She is such a good photographer that she won international award. And then she is in charge of this photography association. You thought it was just association, right? No, it's a real institution. It's in the minister level. She has her own driver and she goes out and she's very respected. People think of her as a minister level government official. So that says a lot about how people respect culture.
I would say there are better platforms for intellectual careers or studies in China than there are here. And here you have your hobbyists, you have your professors and their research papers, but they don't have a platform to elevate them as much as they do in China. They don't have a minister level title or pay or privilege for their activities. It's not promoted as much.
So there are some think tanks that are used by the government. You can be an expert on this and that, foreign relations, that's about it. If you are interested in, say, photography, it's not going to give you some privilege. And writers, you can be very honored, invited to the White House or to give speeches. But in China, a lot of the poets in the history have been the most important leaders in China. See this Qu Yuan I told you about, who the Dragon Boat Festival celebrates. China's most famous leader, Communist Party's leader, Mao Zedong, he was a poet. Poetry is highly respected
Esteemed.
in Tang Dynasty and Song Dynasty.
So I think that cultural background, that history is important because you carry some of that forward to today. You still preserve some of that respect for these intellectual activities.
But here it's like I admire people who are handy because they're so useful. Over there, I would never think of that. How to fix things can be so useful because it's so affordable.
Yeah.
I remember that I have people help me change my faucet. I paid maybe $10 for the faucet, maybe $5 for the installation.
The cost of services here certainly becomes a time or money sink where your home ownership brings on a lot of responsibility, and you either have to spend the time to maintain that house yourself or you have to pay very much for services to maintain your house.
That makes me wonder, if you are owning a house, you are also having some liabilities. If you have to really spend a lot of time worry about things like mowing the lawn, fixing the faucet or the pipes, how can you be an intellectual?
Exactly, because that intellectualism, it takes some downtime. You need some quiet time, you need some time to think, or if you're an extrovert, you need to go out and you need to be meeting the right people and not stuck at home.
Yeah, so if you are stuck by these things and you don't read, that's already difficult to improve yourself, to grow. Another thing is that how are you going to get to know people? I believe the fastest way to success is not through hard work or education, but really through who you know. If you can meet the people higher than you, I'm talking about the social class, the higher the better. If you can cross that a social class to meet people much higher than you, if they can help you, and your success will come much easier than years of studies, years of hard working without recognition. People say, if you work hard, you'll be recognized. A lot of times you work very hard, you don't get recognized.
Yeah, and that can be disappointing for people. So you have some of those time sinks when you're working hard. You have the traffic, going to work, the commute, the chores. This absorbs so much time and energy. And how do people find ways to be more intellectual? I find that people will listen to podcasts or audiobooks while they're doing things. And that does help them stay more informed and more educated. It's not a good substitute for really high quality study time, but it is a good effort, at least.
Another thing is that the education is so expensive. It blocks a lot of people. They can be very smart, but they don't have the money to go to school or continue to get a postgraduate education. They are stuck somewhere and it's very difficult to move up. Nowadays, if you don't get a college degree, it's very limited.
It sure is.
I feel useful information actually is very expensive here.
And it's hidden.
It's hidden, absolutely. And social media makes people lazy. They don't have to search for things. They just have things
To entertain them.
entertain them.
Rather than to educate them.
Yes. In doing that, it can make them dumber.
Yes.
Unfortunately, also make them content. So they don't have the desire to learn more, to improve themselves.
You really need to be selective about your entertainment methods and your relaxation methods. Make sure that you're improving yourself in life, that you're edifying yourself, that you're bettering yourself, and that you're not stuck in these stagnant cycles of working and relieving stress and using social media for silly entertainment.
Another thing I find it is a little bit hopeless is that even some people study very hard, they are very intellectual, but they don't make a living by doing these things. They might have a manual job,
With profound ideas.
but they still have profound ideas. And their profound ideas cannot bring them to that social network. There's no such intellectual social network to invite them. But in China, if you really study these things, they can accept you. For example, pay to listen to you. And if you learn how to do sound bass, play the crystal singing bowls, and you can have a concert. So you are very much welcomed in that intellectual circle. But here, I have talked to so many people. They might be truck drivers, or they might be very regular person by profession, but they have wonderful ideas. They're very talented in music, writing, in history, just used as a hobby. It does not go anywhere. This hobby does not really improve their social status. But in China, I have a friend, for example, he learned to do sand painting. He performed sand painting at one of my book launches for free. He wanted to meet people at my book launches. And he did. Then he was invited to perform in the Spring Festival Gala. He's becoming a very famous sand painter and has a lot of students. I see that with my own eyes, how his life has transformed.
Intellectualism here, I think, has to be done out of principle. It has to be done for the enrichment of your own life in ways that your wealth or status doesn't measure.
In that sense, the Chinese are more motivated to learn about philosophy, about this and that, because these things can take them to a higher social class.
Yes.
Whereas here, it's just topics in conversations.
Yeah. Well, you can see how the Confucian background in China and in other countries like Korea has impacted the daily life and the opportunities for people in those countries. Not only is it enriching in your life to pursue intellectualism in China, but it can also be very rewarding as a career as well. Sure.
My youngest son, when I asked him, what do you want to be? He said, I want to be a soccer player. And in China, kids always say, I want to be a CEO. I want to be a president. My son is a straight A student. And in China, they will take more pride of being straight A, having a sharp mind. But he tries so hard to impress others by being a good soccer player. Yes, he is a good soccer player. He's already in the national league. But eventually, I think he'll benefit more with his brain.
Hopefully he'll meet some people that will benefit him later in life through his soccer playing, though.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.